if you're in your 20s and your life feels inconsistent, that's probably the point. Your 20s, I'm 23, so what is that? It's actually 4 years into your 20s if you count 20, 21. No, that's about 3. But my 3 to 4 years experience in my 20s, it's been very inconsistent, very experimental. Trying new things, failing, thinking something's gonna be a part of your life forever, and then you stop caring about it. Hobbies, habits, whatever. It's really, your 20s are about finding what sticks. Your sticky 20s. Pause. But as a 23-year-old, I feel like a big mistake I make a lot of the time, especially with social media, it's just watching my peers and thinking they got something figured out that I don't. And, maybe to a certain extent they do. Maybe they have certain aspects of their life that they've got a better hold of, a better understanding of than me. But, to look at those small aspects and to assume that they have things figured out and I don't is just disingenuous. It's a trap that, I and you yourself probably put on yourself. Social media is great at projecting the best moments of the best qualities of people's lives. Nobody's posting their worst moments or their failures. And if they are, credit to them. I don't know why they would. Anyway, unless they're, documenting, sort of like this, I guess, but yeah, comparing yourself to other people and assuming they have it figured out, because the assumption is the problem. Because if you actually go and talk to anybody, if you're in this age group, you go and talk to anybody, and you ask, nobody's got it figured out, man. Nobody. People will be, generally they'll be honest with you. Hey man, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going along with it. Going to college to get this. Maybe I'll get this job. I got this hobbies. I do these workouts. Maybe one day I'll be here. But nobody truly knows, and I guess that's just life. It's the journey. It's not about the destination, guys. It's about the journey. There is a lot of truth in that. Look back at any point in your life. I do this all the time. I look back at 2022 and I'm like, man, 1 year after I graduated high school, that was a good time. And then when I was in 2022, I was looking back at 2020, I'm like, man, COVID. And I miss COVID, that was a good time. And then when it was 2020, I was looking back at 2018. Oh man, summer 2018, oh man. Polo G just came out, oh man, we just started doing, friggin' teenager things, oh man, that was a good summer. And then before that, oh man. And then when it was 2018, oh man, 2016, man, everybody loves 2016. Why do we do that? And never once, in 2026, in 3 years, I'll look back, I'll be like, oh man, 2026, when I was 23, man, good times, but why can't we appreciate that now? So, I don't even know how I got to that point, but that was just a point I wanted to make. Another thing is, everybody kind of assumes that, you should have it figured out. Everybody says you should kind of have it figured out. You should, be on the right track. You should go to this college. You should get this job. Everybody is telling you how and when you should have it figured out. Nobody is telling you how to figure it out, though. That's the problem. Nobody's giving, and the reason nobody will ever tell you how to figure it out is because they don't know how to figure it out. Nobody knows how to figure it out. Right? Everybody who has figured out has, it's a combination of just working, putting your head down, and getting lucky. Right place, right time. So that's a big reason why, everybody should just be putting themselves out there. That's a big thing in your 20s. Just put yourself out there, social circles, connecting with other people. What's the Malcolm Gladwell book? I've never read it, but people talk about it all the time. Outliers, or something like that. I should probably read it before I, bring it up in a video like this, but I'm not a very good reader. That's why it's 6:32 and I'm on my way to go plumb. But success is a lot of the times, it's about hard work, no doubt. That's just the floor. That'll just get oxygen into the lungs of success. But right place, right time is really everything, man. So you can't guarantee right place, right time, but you can increase your odds. And life is a numbers game. If you can increase your odds in anything, that's what you should strive to do. You should never strive to, never is a big word, but strong word. You shouldn't strive to, make things set in stone, right? You should focus on increasing your odds in anything. What will increase your odds to get this job in this interview? What will increase your odds to, get into this university or whatever? Nothing you do will make anything set in stone. So the best thing you can do is just simply increase your odds. And, I find that's the best thing you can do. Pull up to a job interview, well trimmed, you're the best dressed, your face is moisturized, you got no pimples, you got a little halo effect going on. They assume because you're well groomed and well dressed and whatever, that maybe you'll be good at your job, even though they don't correlate. But that's just how the human brain works. You're increasing your odds. So yeah. So I think increasing your odds in your 20s, I guess that's not just 20s but life, but that's something big that, I'm not sure what that was. That's something big that I've been trying to focus on lately. Just increasing your odds for everything. Because something's bound to hit. Something's bound to hit. Another thing. Your 20s are kind of like, this is something I thought of, I wanted to share. Your 20s are kind of like your first years as an adult. You turn, either you get to work right out of high school, or you kind of go to college, and then, 4 years later, at like 22, 23, you become an adult. But I think around 22, 23, 24 is when, everybody's kind of getting into that phase of their life, and it's kind of the first few years of your life where you are an adult. And to have things figured out in the first few years is just absolutely insane, right? Like, in the first few years of your life, you barely have shitting in a toilet and walking on your own 2 feet figured out, speaking, right? Like, when you're in the first few years of your life, you're a crybaby, you're a blabbermouth, shit your pants, drool all over yourself. First few years of being an adult, it's kind of the same thing, right? You just make these stupid mistakes that in hindsight, you look at them, right? You could have made a mistake last week and you're looking at it and you're like, dude, what the hell? What was I thinking? But that's growing pains. You never stop having growing pains, especially when we're all growing up to be adults. We're all still growing up. I know we're technically not kids. I haven't been a kid in a while. I'm 23. I've been working for 5 years. But, it's something about being 18, 19, 20, even 21. You still feel, yeah, I'm a young adult, I still am a young adult at 23, but clock's ticking, right? And the last point I want to make is we should really be reframing our 20s. Instead of treating your 20s like you should have things figured out, right? Reframe it. This is collecting info time. This is when we are absorbing. This is when we are becoming. We have not become, we are becoming. Pause. And we have to reframe our mindset, because it'll just kill you having a negative mindset. Looking at others, thinking, hey, this guy's doing easy. This guy's on a vacation in Miami, man. I've never been on a vacation in Miami, man. Okay, what if that guy spent his whole savings account to go on that vacation in Miami? What if his pee burns now because he went to Miami? There's a lot of things that these people aren't telling you. He blew his whole bank account, and now it hurts when he pees, and a whole bunch of other things. But all you know is he went to Miami and he got off a sick Instagram post. And now you're sitting there fuming, right? Reframe your 20s. We're collecting, we're becoming, we're gathering, we're falling, and we're getting back up. So, that's all I got. Yeah, that's why you're treat your 20s like an experiment, and reframe your mindset. Start gathering, start collecting. Stop feeling bad about